Testing.
Doing good.
We're good?
You got the echo on.
Nice. Echo. Is that it?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound cool anymore. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. We're gonna be doing a very short aquascaping demonstration, just to get some basic information out there on how to get started on an aquarium, planted aquarium. So last time we did another workshop. This one's not gonna be as long. We're not gonna waste all your guys' time. We're gonna get right on it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. That actually makes it easier for us instead of trying to come up with stuff. But yeah, we want to answer all of your questions. Yeah. So when getting into a planted aquarium, we usually start first by deciding on the size of the tank. Smaller tanks doesn't necessarily mean it's easier or better. It's actually a little bit more of a challenge to keep a small tank, small planted tank more balanced. So going straight to the point, a 10-gallon size tank is that perfect size because it's not too big or it's not too small. It's going to be easy to balance out, have a nice CO2 levels, which is important. Even if you're not dosing any CO2, even if it's a low-tech tank. You got more space to work around, so it's a lot easier to trim, to do water changes, to vacuum, so pretty much keep the tank cleaner. And it takes longer, you got more capacity for more fish, and less chances of waste accumulation. Waste accumulation is one of those things that's very important, and it gets overlooked a lot in planted aquariums because of this is due to some old school methods like Diana Wallstat method, which is pretty much a system. It's a method where the plants rely on the fish waste for nutrition. So that's just one method. It doesn't apply to everything anymore. To all of the new stuff that we have, which pretty much makes it a lot easier. Nowadays, difference is, like I said, there's pretty much been soil for nutrition, natural soils, like organic topsoils and stuff like that. Nowadays, we have this. It's pretty much natural soils, but they're made specifically for plant growth. And that makes it a lot easier for us. Nothing wrong with doing a dirted, that's what they call it, a dirted tank. But it can be more of a challenge because you can easily get compaction, excessive sulfur gas buildup, and all that kind of stuff. So this is pretty much a lot easier for the hobbyist, and especially when you're getting started into a planted aquarium. Yeah, so we're gonna start doing aquascape. Like I said, we're gonna go right to the point. And yeah, this is Power sand. It's volcanic based, and we're gonna start showing you how to do a right.
Yeah, that's right.
To do a substrate system the right way. Why are we using Power sand? Power sand, like I said, it's volcanic based. It's highly porous. Lava, pretty much. Why does that make it important? Well, like I said a little bit earlier, in Wallstat method, you can easily get soil compaction, and that's due to pretty much the soil, the natural topsoil. That's what they usually use, and it gets compacted, and there's not enough circulation down there, and that creates problems. Yeah, so by using something highly porous like this, for example, ADA's Power sand, which is highly porous, meaning it has high surface area to maintain a healthy bacteria colony in the substrate, and it will keep the breathability of the tank. That's actually talking about breathability. That's another reason why these substrates are better than just going with topsoil. Why? Because if you look up close, aqua soils in general, they are spherical. They're pretty much all consistent in the size. They're like round, pretty much. Oh yeah. Okay, so let me show you guys the soil first. I'm pretty sure you guys seen soil already. Yeah. So soil, you see, it has it's a round shape. And you can clearly see that this is not going to easily get compacted because there's going to be enough breathability and flow. Even though we are not able to see that flow, there is good circulation down there, which is important. Again, why? To keep bacteria healthy. Bacteria requires high oxygen, good circulation in order to stay healthy. And that's what we're going to be doing. So we pretty much, this, you can consider this the homes of the bacteria. So this is also important because if you have a strong colony of bacteria in your tank, again, bacteria specializes in eating up all those excessive, I would say nutrients, more like organic waste, degrades organic waste and turns it into nutrients for the fish. Yeah, so what he's doing right now, he's adding Bacter 100. There is different types of bacteria, and they're of course for different purposes. Most of them all use the types, the same types of bacteria. They're in the dormant stage. They're in the powder form. They get activated after 8 or 12 hours after being in contact with water. So so this is ADA's Bacter 100. That's meant for the plants, plant growths, plant the tanks pretty much. Nothing wrong if you're going to do a shrimp tank, you can still use that. But there's some other types of bacteria that are designed for shrimp. And why is that? Pretty much they also have all the dormant bacteria there, that of course the lactobacters and all that. But they add minerals and ingredients that will create biofilm in a plant system. So if your goal is to start a shrimp tank, I would suggest you start using a bacteria meant for shrimps, to raise shrimp. Again, biofilms is actually one of the main foods for shrimp. Yes, sir.
As I use sprinkling the bacteria, how much do you know how much to put in, and can you put in too much?
You cover the whole bottom. Right here, basically, you
Yeah.
cover the front to the middle, the bottom.
Yeah, just like a thin layer.
Yeah, the layer on the bottom.
Can you put too much?
You can, but you would have to pretty much. There's instructions here on how much to add.
Okay.
Yeah, but usually the rule is to sprinkle it over. You know. For example, this says. Sorry, it says for so 3 spoons for every 2 liters of power sand, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, so the spoon is should be inside in here. It's not. Yeah, it's a tiny spoon. I think it's like a gram.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's for every 2 liters of power sand, and that's this right here. This is power sand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he was sprinkling because we already know,
Right.
but we should have been more detail on that. So this is the bacteria I was talking about. It's made for plant growth. It's dormant. There's hundreds of types of bacteria in here that will benefit the aquarium and will make it stable. Stable meaning, all that organic waste is going to be getting disintegrated, and you don't want excessive organic waste in your tank because that will induce algae. Yeah, so you want to minimize. That's why we do water changes. That's why we vacuum. That's why we trim and remove dead leaves of the plants and all that to reduce organic waste, because that is pretty much algae food. Yeah, and about the other type of bacteria meant for shrimp, like I said, if you are going to do shrimp, this has added minerals, and it will also create biofilms. Biofilm is that, I'll give you a good example. Not sure if you guys ever seen when you put a new piece of wood in the tank, that wood starts creating something that looks like fungus. It's usually light gray or white and pillowy or feathery. That's a biofilm, biological film. That's pretty much a surface that the bacteria has created to attach while it establishes usually in the substrate or your filtration, and that's where it's supposed to be. Yeah, so that's really high in proteins, and it's a really good food source for shrimp. Very important too, and for autocichlids, Siamese algae eaters. So just in case you guys do get some of that, and it's getting very annoying, you guys can put some algae eaters in there, and they will take care of it. Yeah. Another method is, let's say it's getting it's taking a whole power, over the whole tank. You can remove the driftwood. This is a temporary fix, by the way. Remove the driftwood and spray it with hydrogen peroxide 3%. You can get it drugstore, Thrifty, or Walmart, or Target. 3% hydrogen peroxide, and that will eliminate it because that kills microorganisms. Yeah, so that's that about the bacteria. Now he's going to be adding clear super. Clear super is important when you're trying to establish a healthy bacteria substrate system. This is pretty much carbon. Yeah, it's a high-grade carbon made out of bamboo, and there's a lot of benefits when using it when you're adding bacteria powders to your substrate when setting a new substrate. Again, he's just sprinkling, and we've done this a few times, so pretty much I know already how much to add. But every ingredient has, of course, different dosage, and usually the instructions are in the bottle. Benefit of that is that when you're setting up a new substrate system, there's going to be a lot of nutrients and ammonia leaching, and that pretty much the carbon there will pretty much capturing all those organics and chemicals in the water and make a clean environment for that bacteria while it establishes. So you're pretty much making the home of the bacteria a clean environment. That's what you want to set up a healthy bacteria colony. Tourmaline PC. So that is a nutrient. It's a mineral. It's a mineral that holds a lot of types of nutrients, and it's pretty much a mineral that will slow release those nutrients into the water. So that ingredient right there is actually to create a more stable nutrition throughout the life of the aquarium, and that mineral is called tourmaline. Alright, so we have added all the powders already. Now we're going to do substrate. Substrate is very important, like I said. A lot of people like using topsoils, for example, Miracle-Gro. And nothing wrong with that. It's just you can actually make more mistakes. It's cheaper, yes, but like I said, you can easily get compaction, excessive organic sulfuric gas, and yeah, that's something that you got to consider a lot if you really want to go through that trouble. Plus, you'll get a lot of tint in the water. That water will keep turning brown, like tea color. Sometimes even for months. It depends on the thickness of the soil you use. That's something that you can easily avoid all those headaches by using commercial substrates that are meant for planted aquariums. There's a lot of benefits. So it's not just that they're highly nutritious and they benefit the plants, of course. They also buffer the water, and buffering meaning they will create the right pH, KH, GH, pretty much parameters to keep livestock like more acidic species, maybe like apistogrammas, shrimp. Of course, a lot of people like to keep shrimp. So, for example, this wouldn't be suitable for fish that require higher pH, as an example, African cichlids per se. Plus, they will make a mess with this. That's why it's suitable for planted aquarium. And yeah, creates the perfect environment for all those species that usually live with plants. So he's adding that soil right now. We're using Ultimate Nature System, and this is fine, I think. Yeah, so there's a lot of sizes, grain size. Fine is pretty much the one that's like in the middle, like 2 to 3 millimeter. size is very important because some companies like UNS, for example, Control Soil, they have different sizes available. So the question might be, what size should I use? So pretty much you put it this way: the smaller the tank, the finer the substrate. Um, so if you're, as an example, you know, if you're doing a 100-gallon tank, you might want to start with something more coarse, like the normal. So they have extra fine, fine, and normal. Normal is the more coarse, like 3 to 4 millimeter size. And you start with that because you are going to have a thicker substrate. You're going to have a thicker substrate, and you wanna get that nice aeration down there. Nice oxygen flow, and you get that by, again, not getting any compaction. So by starting with a bigger size, a grain size, you pretty much avoiding that issue. Just because extra fine looks looks a lot better. It's actually even also good for growing carpeting plants. Carpeting plants prefer the finer substrate. Yeah, you can, let's say you are doing that 100-gallon and you start with a normal size, grain size, you know, 3 to 4 for the bottom. You can actually top it up with something like extra fine. Again, extra fine looks a lot better because it's finer, so it looks more natural, less man-made pretty much. And that's what we're trying to do, a natural aquascape. Yeah. So he's creating a slope here, and that helps a lot for a few reasons. You can actually have higher light intensity plants on the back, and maybe some carpet in here, medium plants. The reason why higher intensity plants, so pretty much high-tech plants like red plants, will grow better on the back because they're going to be closer to the light. So you have different levels. And the other thing, the one that a lot of people actually does this for, is because it creates more sense of depth. It gives the sense, makes you think that it's deeper, and you got more sense of depth on the tank. Yeah. Hardscape. We're gonna need hardscape. No, it's okay. Yeah, we can do it with the rocks. We're gonna need rocks.
I can get it wrong.
Yeah. What do you want?
Small serious stone.
I had a question about,
Yes, sir.
you know how you said it goes to the back,
A little bit.
and you have the volcanic rock on the bottom. I was considering going to get like larger volcanic rocks, like the supplies to the Home Depot or whatever.
Okay.
Those weren't getting fresh water, right?
If they're natural and they haven't been treated with anything, they should be fine. The thing I can tell you for sure is that in Home Depot, for example, or those other stores, they do work with pesticides and stuff like that.
I would boil them and stuff like that. But my main reason is because like it would serve as like the kind of volcanic, base you have there.
Okay, there you go.
But I also wanted to like, so I have to use less substrate. It would be, you've seen when people take the ceramic things and put them in a sack, and then build it up that way, so they don't have to use the volcanic rock.
It would that is pretty much would be like a substitute. Yeah, you can't do that. A lot of people do practice that, and it's like a substitute for ADA. Yeah. It's less porous.
Yeah. I was just
But
thinking
it
like
works.
space-wise. Yeah.
Should be good, yeah. Thank you. You can bring like smaller pieces if there's any.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, so this is there's tons of types of hardscape. Ceru stone. It's one of those rocks that everybody likes. It's very popular, and it's mostly thanks to one of the, well, I would say the world's most known aquascaper and pioneer of aquascaping, Takashi Amano from Aqua Design Amano, ADA. He popularized this rock a lot because he used it a lot in his aquascapes. Everybody likes it now. But it's a beautiful rock, and the reason for that, you can see it has a lot of crevices and character to it. So this is one of those beautiful rocks. Again, there's so many types, and that's a cool thing because you got so much to work with. You won't just have one simple rock, one type of rock. Powell right here is using the rocks strategically to keep the soil, wants to keep that slope up there. So pretty much doing almost the same thing as we did in the 114 gallon from UNS that we have in the store. Using the rocks to keep that soil in place and maintain that that height on the back, the slope. Should we do that or? Talking about substrates, there is different types. For example, you guys might already know, some of you guys might know EcoComplete, for example. EcoComplete is pretty much volcanic rock. It's inert, meaning it does not have any nutrients for the plants. It doesn't. So pretty much it works just because it's really highly porous, and with time, the bacteria will break down so much organic waste that will start becoming nutrients for the plants. And yeah, so definitely something like this kind of substrate is a lot more beneficial. Yeah. You won't have to be adding as much nutrients because, if any, because it already has a lot of nutrients. Yeah. And there's other stuff. You see a lot of people usually use like sand and all that. Again, these are inert, meaning that they do not hold any nutrition. Nothing to benefit the plants. Only with time will they be able to give any nutrition to the plants. What you usually want to do if you want to go this route, if you do have that already, you want to use it. You want to buy something, for example, like Flourish root tabs or Tropica root tabs, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make that inert substrate nutritious. Yeah, so that's the one thing you're going to have to do. And again, you won't have to spend that if you're already investing in activated substrates. Stuff like this we like to use. You will notice that we use inert stuff like sand or medium-sized gravel and all that. But we use it more for like cosmetic-wise because it looks good. There's actually a lot of people that don't like how the activated substrates look. They think it looks very fake, and it does. Maybe I just got used to it, but I think it does. Yeah, that's why finer grain looks a lot better. But using something like this in certain places, for example, maybe in here, or if there would have been like a path or something, you use it in that section where pretty much you're not going to grow any plants, and makes your tank look good and natural. And that way, I mean, you won't be seeing that substrate if you don't like it. And again, there's some people that don't like it. I prefer the finer grain for that reason, because it looks pretty fake, but it does the job real good. And you can see this is soil because you can easily break it down and it becomes pretty much like mud. That's how you can test your substrate to see if it's an activated substrate or not. All right, so we got the hardscape done. We're gonna get started on the planting now. You guys have any questions?
Looking good.
Okay. All right, that's good. Yeah, we got some plants down here. This is something I really want to talk about selecting the plants. First of all, you gotta start by knowing what your goal is. What kind of aquascape are you building? High tech, meaning you're gonna have fast growth. You're gonna be dosing a lot of nutrients to keep up with that nutrient demand. You're gonna have a high light, so that light's gonna be very intense, and you're gonna be definitely dosing pressurized CO2. Carbon dioxide, number one nutrient required by plants. When you do that, You're pretty much open to what kind of plants you want to use. You can use any kind of plants because you have the setup designed for that. All plants have different requirements. For example, this guy right here, it's called Limnophilia heterophylla. This plant, it's nice looking, it's bright green, it's feathery, grows pretty fast, but it's actually able to do all that in a low-tech environment. You can use it. Yeah, in a low-tech environment, and that is because, again, this is one of those plants that is, it's a nutrient demand and light demand it's not high. It cannot live in those low nutrient and low CO2 environments. So that's a low-tech plant, pretty much. And that's what I was trying to say about choosing the right plants for your setup. So, for example, right here, we're not sure whoever's going to keep this tank. We're not sure if they're going to do high tech or low tech. Any plant is capable of growing in a high tech, of course, because you're providing everything at higher levels. But we chose the plants for this aquascape for a low tech environment. Pretty much just low to medium intensity light, no CO2, and sometimes not a lot of nutrition in the tank, because we already got the substrate there and that. So yeah, so another plant that I want to show you guys would be this guy right here, Christmas moss. Mosses are very popular in the hobby, and that's for a lot of reasons. For all types of plant tank enthusiasts, even shrimp keepers. They look really good. They're super easy to grow. They don't require much more than just water, and the nutrition provided by the fish waste is enough to keep this plant alive. Also, the CO2 being produced in the aquarium. So let me tell you something, guys. When you're talking about a low-tech system, we're not necessarily talking about no CO2. Yes, we are not we're not dosing CO2 in our tanks, but it doesn't mean there is no CO2 in the tank. Actually, there is, and that's being produced by some of the organic waste, and as a byproduct of fish. Fish use oxygen, and they produce CO2 through fish waste and other stuff, pretty much organics. What I'm trying to say that there is some low amounts of CO2 being produced in a tank already. That's why these plants that are easy, considered low-tech, are able to survive in that system because of those low amounts in the tank already. Some plants that are considered high-tech, meaning they need higher light and they have a higher demand for CO2. That's the kind of plants, for example, red plants. Most of the red plants. Those guys, you do need to add a CO2 system to pretty much give them the requirements that they need, that high demand of CO2 and nutrients. And Powell here is using this Limnophilia heterophylla on the back as a background plant. It grows really fast. It's very easy to grow too. Like I said, looks good. It's bright green. You know, another plant that is very easy would be ferns. There's a lot of types of mosses, and there's tons of types of ferns also. Ferns are known for being one of the easier plants to grow. They're usually on the darker side of the greens, and this kind of plant you never put in the substrate. Plants that have a rhizome. What's a rhizome? A rhizome is this section in a plant that holds the roots and the leaves of the plants, the stems, pretty much. I'll show you. You want to do the, yeah, do the monster. Talk about that there.
Yeah, I want to use forest glue or the moss.
Yeah, I was curious about that too. Like the glue, it doesn't. I've seen people put it directly in the tank.
It doesn't leach it.
Huh?
It doesn't leach it yet.
Yeah, it's that ingredient is non-toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before, yeah, you can use it like that. Yeah, so pretty much, forage glue, that ingredient is non-toxic to fish. It doesn't mean that you can use any type of glue. Yeah, but specifically this one, that ingredient, cyanoacrylate, is a non-toxic glue for inhabitants in the tank. Um, yeah, so he only used a little bit, and that's pretty much enough to make the plant stay in place. What you don't want to do is use too much because this glue will turn white underwater, and that looks pretty awful, honestly. So yeah, it's better to, and a little bit goes a long way. So you don't want to be seeing a lot of white, which eventually, once the moss starts growing, it will cover up the moss. But not something I like to see. So doing a little bit, small dabs is actually a good idea. And I was going to talk about plants that have a rhizome. This is not the best example. I'm going to show you guys actually an Anubia. I'll be back. Yeah. This is a perfect example of a plant that has a rhizome. Perfect example. So this is, again, there's a lot of types of Anubias. This Anubia is called Nubia golden coin, and that's due to the circular leaves that it has. Anyways, this is the rhizome here. Pretty much this section right here, that's the rhizome that holds the root and the leaves of the plant. Most of the plants that have a rhizome prefer to be attached to a surface instead of being in the substrate. And the reason for that is because let's say you want to put this in the substrate, and this is the substrate level. And you put this plant like this, you pretty much root it, right? This section here, the rhizome, requires a good oxygen flow for it to survive, or else it starts rotting and it eventually kills the whole plant.
So what you're saying is you put it in just to the root, like just
Exactly, yeah.
that bottom middle.
Yeah. For example, let's say you want to do it. If you really want to do this plant in the substrate, you would do it just like that. Pretty much the rhizome above the substrate level. And that's actually where a lot of people don't want to go through that stress. They just go ahead and put it through a crevice, or they use, again, the glue, and you would cut pretty much the roots and attach the plant into the rock. The plant eventually, if it's close to the substrate, the roots will grow so long it will end up going to the substrate. It doesn't need to though, because this plant is a low requirement plant and it absorbs most of its nutrients through the leaves. This is a low tech plant. It's a low light. It doesn't need much to grow. It's one of the easiest plants out there, the Nubia species. This is another type of plant. I chose this one specifically for this aquascape because it's a small aquascape. Something you want to do too is pretty much stake in smaller plants just to get that nice sensitive scale. This is called, it's a cryptocoryne species. Cryptocoryne plants are mostly all of them are very easy. That's why they're very popular in the hobby too, just like an Anubia or moss. Different types of mosses, different types of Anubias and crypts. This is the world's smallest cryptocoryne. It's called Cryptocoryne parva. It grows very short like this, and it's very easy to grow. That was easy. Yeah. Easy meaning, again, low light requirement, no CO2 are required, and all that. And you know about this, a lot of people tend to leave this, which is actually rock wool. That's what it is. WOOL. That's what it is. This thing with time, you'll notice that when you get it, probably it looks like this, and then it starts turning darker and darker and darker, meaning it's starting to rot. It's going bad. You always remove this. You never leave it. What is this? This is just pretty much a holding ground for the plants, for transportation, to grow it in there, in the nurseries and all that kind of stuff. It's not something you want in your tank. It's very easy to grab 2 containers of water, tank water, dechlorinated. You don't put plants. And let's say, for example, the Anuvia here that had a lot of it, and it's a little hard to remove and annoying sometimes. You can use it if you want. This is a nice plant. You have 2 containers of water. One where you're going to put the plant to the cleaning plant, and the other one where you're going to remove this very easy because it can become pretty stressful. Like, oh. And then you're trying not to damage the roots. You shouldn't really be worried about that. You grab a container and you just it'll be a lot easier to clean that material, to remove it from the roots in a container of water instead of compared to just doing it out of the water. Yeah, it's a lot easier. And the other container of water would be pretty much to leave your plant in there. You don't want to leave your plant too long for there while you're working. It can get frostbite, meaning even if it's cold, if it's getting wet, if it gets too cold, it gets frostbite. Pretty much the leaves turn translucent and they start melting. And the other thing, you don't want to get it all dried out and will die. Yeah. So that's why you use those 2 containers. One to clean it out, the plant, prep it, and the other one to put it in, put the plant in there until you're ready to start working with it. That way it's always under water. And that's one of the things it's doing, keeping the tank moist. Yeah, so you guys have any questions?
How long does it take for the glue to set?
Once touch water,
Maybe like, call it 1 minute. And it should be there. Yeah, sometimes you hold it just for a little bit, you know.
I noticed you let go pretty quick.
Yeah. So usually like around one minute, maybe 45 seconds, and you can let go, and it'll start like curing and getting dry out. Yeah.
Is it different than normal super glue?
Well, as long as it's the same ingredients, some other glues do have other added ingredients. So you want to make sure if you're going to go that route, you use cyanoacrylate. I would do gel type. Cyanoacrylate gel type. Yeah, definitely. That's pretty much what that is. Yeah. So you don't want to do the one that's just liquid. Maybe see the difference. You guys seen our regular super glue, right? Yeah. This one is gel. Yeah. So that's the one you want to use. It's if it would have been the liquid, of course it will just pour in, won't be as effective as this. Yeah. There you go. Thank you. You mean like shoot runners?
Yeah.
And spread like a carpet?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a true carpet implant, but it will spread and it will send slowly. It will do it runners. And plants will start coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't be as fast. It's actually a slow grower. Yeah, but it's a beautiful plant.
I like it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I'm into detail, so for those small plants, you know, that's one of the ones I like. Especially if you're doing like a scale design. Scale design pretty much meaning you're trying to get a scenery, maybe like a mountainscape, and redo something in a lower scale like this. You know, that's pretty unique. Specific plants, very small plants. For example, like the cryptocoryne, part of the world's smallest cryptocoryne. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. Unless you guys have any questions, yeah. Yeah. All right, yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you guys like the tank. Mr. Powell right here, getting his hands on his getting his hands wet for us. Yeah. Okay, one of the last things, what to expect, it's a new tank. Of course, it's not going to be balanced. There's not really going to be a strong bacteria colony in there. But we did a good job prepping this guy. You know, you saw all the products we used. We used high quality bacteria. We used the carbon to keep that environment clean for the bacteria, and we even added a tourmaline, BC, which is a mineral that releases nutrients into the water slowly to keep that stable nutrient coming for those plants, especially in the low tech. It's gonna work awesome. And very important, very porous. Volcanic base for the bottom, for the homes for the bacteria, because you want to build that strong colony. You're going to expect, of course, to see slight algae growth. The first one you're going to see, it's going to be brown. It's called brown diatom algae, and that's normal. A lot of people, if you search for brown diatom, you'll notice a lot of people say it's silicates in the water, and it's not really silicates. It's actually immature bacteria colony in your tank. Your tank needs to establish, and that will go away by itself. It gets sometimes a little, stressful to see it. You can, of course, wipe it down, you know, like scrub it down with a pad or a blade. If for the hardscape, you can add like autocinquas. Those guys love eating that. Nerite snails, those guys do a great job for film algae. I would use, for example, here I would use maybe one horned nerite snail and maybe two autocinquas, because they're a very small catfish that pretty much like a plecostomus. They're not a plecostomus, but pretty much the algae here that you want in here. A monostrayer for string algae. If you would keep this tank, it's a brand new tank, so a new setup. So that I would keep the light on for like 6-7 hours to the most while it establishes. 8 being that point where you always want to stay. Some tanks are very stable, and the colony of the bacteria there is massive, so some people can actually take it all the way down to like 12-13 hours, and that's a lot. Usually in 8 hours of photosynthetic period, meaning the reaction of the plants to the light. That's usually what it takes. Only 8 hours, and they have completed that photosynthetic period. So 8 hours is that point that you want to stay in there. And if you did more than that, you might start getting algae. So you're gonna see some brown algae, totally normal, nothing to stress about. As the tank matures, it's gonna cycle, more than cycle. It's gonna get a mature bacteria colony in there, and it's gonna go away. Water changes, no fish. Water changes once a week, of course. You can do like a 20%. Basic stuff. Pretty much no fish until it cycles. We did have bacteria, so probably like around almost 2 weeks. This should be fully cycled and ready to start putting less sensitive species like maybe cherry bars, maybe, or small fish. Yeah, whatever you guys want. Maybe not shrimp at first. They're very sensitive. Yeah, small filter will be okay, and a small light also. LED doesn't need to be LED, but LEDs work good. So that's it, guys. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up and raffle this tank up to see who's gonna be the lucky winner and take it home. Thank you.
If you guys are doing, so like you glued it to the rocks, do you do the same thing if you're using like driftwood?
Yeah, you can do the same thing. Just glue it to driftwood, spiderwood, same thing works. You do Anubias, like this part right here, on top of the rock.
Just glue everything.
Yeah. First time I saw that, I was like, "Can I kill every fish in your tank?" You know.
The other place had 6.
They asked them about it. He's like, oh, I don't know, we only have 50.
It's okay, the ones I've been there.
The ones that were there, they
Yeah. much is available.
Best tank ever in the world.
That's good. Really
Instead of me giving away stuff, giving access to stuff. Is that it?
Yeah, I used to do that. It's kind of illegal now. You're not allowed to grab this.
Really?
Well,
Is it really?
no. Yeah, talking about
You're not wrestling, guys.
something completely different. No.
No,
Yeah.
Right now, not right
On
now.
Twitch, while you're playing games, you can't sell tickets. Yeah, so it's you know, nothing. Yeah, you guys are good.
it's a giveaway.
Yeah. No Reebok. I've heard that, and these are my first pair, and I've noticed mine are a little bit different than everyone else's. Like,
I've been wearing these for 10 years.
nice, damn, that's
These
impressive.
are like 6 years old.
Oh yeah, 10 years. That's really that's good.
I wear them every summer.
That's cool. They're super comfy. I love them.
They
Yeah.
used to be made here in LA,
Oh yeah. They're not anymore. Ah.
Alright, tickets are going in.
but then they went to somewhere. They did a new factory, and they the other one got worse, and now they're not even made. And now they're really. I mean, they're still decent, but
Yeah,
not
they're
like
just
the original.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take. Like I still have my original.
Alan. Go to the honor.
Thanks for doing this, guys. This is awesome.
Cross your fingers, guys. Cross your fingers, guys. Make sure they're nicely hello. All right. And the moment of truth is. Can I get the drums, guys? Drums. Yeah, there it goes. Ticket number 2595341.
I knew it.
She knew it was. All right.
Actually, really jealous.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I like the curve.
We're gonna need I'm gonna put this right here.
She did.
I have a tank now.
Oh, it's your first tank too?
Sure.
That's sick.
You can only get like only really shy fish.
Really shy.
Yeah, because
Can I
otherwise
get the ones
Zoe,
with big
Zoe's
eyes?
gonna keep it around.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna get pictures.
Such a who says that? When they live.
You're gonna carry the tank like this?
In front of me.
No, it's you.
Let's get clear.
Here's a little close up of the tank, guys.
Facebook Live.
We got Facebook, YouTube.
We're having a hands-on workshop at 5:30. Yeah.
Would you like to be behind? Kyle, you want to be in there or what?
I went.
Yeah, you're gonna be popular.
Like your diva shirts.
We're gonna cover that. All right, guys. See you. Thank you. Thanks for watching. watching.
Thank you guys. Thank you for watching.
Live
Yeah.
video. We're gonna-
Styrofoam.
We'll go look up fishes real quick. Fishes!
Oh yeah.
Oh, you got water. Yeah. Now slowly pour the water.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I'll be back.
Is that your best tank, bro?
Best thing I ever done. I ever done smoke.
Better than
I never done smoke like that. This is good.
you put water in it?
Lots of fish.
Gets it in his bag.
Lots of fish.
You know what?
Daniel,
Hey!
Oh, too late.
I couldn't get off of work early.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I was watching
I just did that tank right now.
I know, sorry.
You could have showed up at the last second? Not one.
Yeah.
Right?
I was watching. That's all.
Action shot.
I actually forgot to tell people that you guys are into something else. Else meaning some country not dying, but some leaves are not starting dying. Only normal part of the game. Yeah, plants do that. They are transitioning to your system. So it's not a new system that we just remove them. Again, to minimize organic waste. Organic waste is anything that can rot. Oh, so yeah, so this is right now, of course, to keep the moisture there. That's what we want. You guys will put water here, but like I said,
Yeah, you got those things. Yeah, so with that.
pretty much you can get this bag. Once you just put it over the tank gently, and you can pour water in there without just throwing the whole out slowly. Deporinated water, chlorine, of course, we want to make it safe for the plants. It's not safe for you or the fish. It's not for the plants.
I'm gonna redo my tank at home. Seven gallon. I'm not gonna redo my 7 gallon. If I can do that, I'm gonna do the one at home.
Yeah, I tried to show mine like that too.
Yeah.
Two, Alan?
Let's say you guys.
Two right there.
Let's say you guys can actually get this thing here and it's getting you can live like that. Plants are used to living out of the water.
Let's do a parking lot.
Yeah, we have a small tank right there. Right 3 months ago. No water, just like that's called this actually is called immersed or dry start method. Yeah. And
Yeah, because sick. I need more from power.
I'm gonna go inside. Why are you doing fight for yours?
yeah, so this once you go about the dry start method, you can actually get anything and just leave it like that. Of course, you won't need light, nothing else. Yeah, small filter for sure, small light, and that's all you need. Yeah, I can show you.